One of the, I was at a dinner and the other members of the private sector informed me, they said, look, you've done this, it's very fine, but there's only one problem. Is that this spreads across the private sector. He said, we're doomed. The costs will just run out of control. I came straight back to Lahore and I called the union and said, listen, we've made a mistake. We've given you pension, we can't give it to you. It'll hurt the country. You'll have to withdraw it. They said, you must be crazy. How are we going to go back to our people and tell them that we're going to withdraw pension? I said, no, find a way. We have to find a way. Will you believe it that we actually got the job done? We found a way. They went to their constituents. They went and told them, we are withdrawing this, but we're replacing it with that. And convinced them that this was in their best interest, and the best interest of the country, and the best interest of the economy. And that part was completely withdrawn. Now you see the power of reputation, the power of speaking the truth. And if I may say, in my weak moment, why not speak the truth? That's what the Holy Prophet ﷺ told us. He told us that lying is the mother of all evils. So if we stop lying, imagine you're getting hold of the mother of all evils. And you find that your life will start to sort itself out. Because you suddenly realize, I can't tell a lie. I have to speak the truth. And when you start to speak the truth, then people start to believe in you. Because they know that you're a person who will not tell a lie. You may make mistakes, you're a human being, but you'll never intentionally tell a lie. And that makes all the difference in the world. And actually, when you then do that, because you haven't identified with what the Holy Prophet ﷺ told you, then you're identifying with what your Creator is telling you. Because the Creator said, Wallah, the only way that is acceptable to me is the way of the Prophet. I follow that principle. I follow it today. I'm utterly committed. I will never lie. And how did that manifest itself in the situation outside our group? When we started buying those shares, the management was absolutely, well, they weren't bananas. They said, here's this family management group buying our shares. We're professional managers. How do the two go together? They're just oil and water. They're immiscible. So naturally, they were exceedingly upset. Well, not only upset, they were frightened. They thought that we would swoop in and we would automatically take over the reins of power and control and then direct the enterprise in our own way, which would completely demolish all of the management systems and structures that they had put in place. It was a very large chasm, a trust deficit. But what happened was that we had, of course, they took us to court. And in that case, I always told them, I said, listen, what your case has no substance in it. And you were claiming in your statement that you are a company of integrity, but the case that you've taken out is one that will eat into the vitals of your integrity, because it's a lie. And they did that. 2 years later, we had an out-of-court settlement, and the consequence of that, we got 2 members of the board of ECHO based on the shareholding that we had. The first meeting, Mr. Zaman Khan, who is a personal friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, who was the person who decided to take us to court. He quickly said in the meeting that I would like to have the current or the previous chairman re-elected as the chairman. And under all rights, being the largest shareholder, it is my right to be chairman. Guess what my response was? I said, Zafar, if you're proposing him as chairman, I second it. Put him in as chairman. Why? Because corporate interest had to take precedence over personal interest. My job to be on an Engel board was not to reduce value to the detriment of all the stakeholders. It was there to protect the value of the stakeholders. And if that meant that I had to compromise, so be it. That's the important part. It's compromise. I have no problem. I look back at that as a wonderful occasion for me to express what I believe in. So, Naseem Ahmed continued for another 3 years as chairman, and our situation with Engel constantly improved. They realized that when we gave our word, we honored it. They realized that we would never, ever compromise the interest of the corporation for our own interest. You imagine that we have Dawood Hercules as a competitor to Engel. I have never had any difficulty telling the Engel board that they suffer more of a conflict of interest than I do. Why? Because when I sit on the Engel board, I am all Engel. That interest takes a supreme position. And because of that, and because they watch this and experience this year after year after year, confidence level has risen to the point that in the next elections, 3 years down the road, they decided to elect me as chair. Before that, of course, in the first 3 years that I was the director, we wanted to increase our shareholding in Engel. So we went back to the board and said, we would like to take your permission to buy the shares. Not that we needed it. We said, we want to take your permission. So when I said, bring it up into the board, it should be done formally. When they brought it up into the board, Shehzada, who was on the board, I opened the board, so that they could have a discussion without our presence. So they could discuss openly. When we came, they invited us back into the boardroom, they said that they had absolutely no objection to us increasing our shareholding. Which we did. And then look what we did. When we realized that this type of expansion plan was taking place, of my own volition, I suggested to them, you must have a stock option plan. You must make the employees owners of the enterprise. What did I tell you? Sharing. Remember, when you try to keep all the profit, when you want to drink all the water in the sea, the only thing that's going to happen is you'll drown. Sharing is, the more you share, the more they'll come to you. And the proof of the pudding is this, is that we started with a stock option plan in Engel proper, and we have extended it to all the underlying subsidiaries. One of the independent directors said to me, he says, do you know this means that you're going to be diluted? I said, no. He says, it's going to cost you a lot of money to come back to here. I said, it may. It's important that they be members and owners of the enterprise. When they saw things like that, the passion for growth became so obvious that they, of their own volition, came up with plans and programs